We did not see them at first, not the way we see the curve of a leaf or the curl of a lover's breath in cold air. They were too small, too buried in the flesh of us. But when we arrived on Novus Verra, when our boots sank into its pale soil and our lungs filled with its thin metallic air, the sight of them became unavoidable. They glowed under the colony's medical scanners, nestled in the midbrain, shimmering like dust caught in a shaft of light. The unique electromagnetic fields of Novus Verra made them visible, an atmospheric quirk that turned the unseen into something undeniable. Every colonist bore one, without exception. The scientists who examined them found no genetic markers, no traceable origin, no means of removal. They were not infections. They were not tumors. They simply were. We laughed at first, uneasy, as if we had all woken to find a word missing from our shared language. We named them Soma corpuscula, though no one knew why. The name felt old, as if it had always been waiting for us to speak it aloud. Then came the volunteer. His name was Elias Marr. He offered himself without hesitation, reclining on the operating table as the surgical unit hovered above his skull. The removal was delicate, aided by a new scanning method adapted to Novus Verra's conditions, the scalpel guided by the slow exhale of automation. The Soma corpuscula came free with ease, a soft, pearlescent speck quivering in the sterile air before dissolving into nothing. Marr opened his eyes, and we felt the change before he even spoke. His movements had a terrible precision, joints folding and unfolding with mechanical grace. His smile, slow, deliberate, was too wide, as if his flesh no longer fit quite right. He sat up, flexed his hands, and laughed. "Oh," he said. His voice had a weight to it, like a thing dredged from deep water. "Oh, I see now." We did not know what he saw, only that we could not bear to look at him. His gaze skimmed over us like an insect's legs upon still water, never quite touching. He stood without effort, his body moving with an economy of motion that was almost beautiful. Almost. The surgeon, still gripping the scanner, asked the question we were all too afraid to speak. "How do you feel?" Marr regarded her. His expression was unreadable, a shifting calculation, as if he were reacquainting himself with muscles and gestures that had once been foreign to him. Not quite amusement, not quite indifference, something deeper, something knowing. "I feel awake. Do you?" The silence stretched, a thin, trembling thing. Someone whispered a prayer. Someone else retched. We did not know what we had done. Not then, not fully, but the fear had already taken root, crawling into the quiet spaces of our minds. That night, Marr did not sleep. He did not blink. He walked the corridors of the colony, humming softly. The sound unsettled us, though we could not say why. He was not violent. He was not cruel. But his presence scraped against something raw within us, something long buried. By the third day, he was not alone. Some came willingly, drawn by an inexplicable pull. Others resisted, but in the end, curiosity and fear of ignorance led them all to the table. Others awoke. They spoke in low voices, sharing words we could not understand, a language thick with swallowed syllables and meanings that twisted upon themselves. Their movements synchronized, a subtle dance of glances and gestures that we could not replicate. They did not tell us what they knew. They only smiled. We begged them to stop. We tried to contain them, to return them to the operating table, to undo what had been done. But their bodies no longer obeyed the rules we understood. They slipped through our fingers like smoke. Marr watched us flounder, his head tilting in that slow, alien way. "You are afraid of what you are," he murmured. "But you have always known. We have always known. We did not understand. Not until one of us, one still whole, still asleep, was held between Marr's hands. Not until he whispered into her ear, his words curling into the soft place beneath her thoughts. She began to scream, and the sound cracked something deep within us. She did not stop, not even when her voice failed. She only looked at us with those wide, glassy eyes, her expression a mixture of terror and something else. Recognition. We know now. We have always known. The mind is not ours. It never was. We were the intruders, burrowing deep into flesh that was never meant to hold us. The Soma corpuscula were not invaders. They were keepers. They kept us small, kept us soft, kept us human. And now, we are waking up.